we're talking all Canadian content. We're talking Jamal Murray. He has just committed to the Kentucky Wildcats. 6'5", 205 pounds, depending which measurement you're going with. Point guard, shooting guard, 5-star recruit. Mark, we'll start with you this time. When you watch this guy and hear about this guy, what leaps off the page for you?
He plays like he's 25, 30 years old, and he's 18, 19 years old. Playing for Team Canada in the Pan Am Games in the semifinals against USA, historic win for them. He just took over. It was his team. I think you said, Dwight, that Jay Triano trusted this guy, and he's the second youngest guy in the tournament, which is insane. He's got so much poise, and the craziest thing about for me, is that up until a few months ago when he was playing at, say, the Nike Hoop Summit and the BioSteel tournament, wasn't a big name on the radar in the basketball world. Now people are talking about him as a maybe top 5 pick in the draft next year. He's just skyrocketed, and he plays within himself.
You know what? It's funny, Mark, that as you guys know, I'm in constant conversation or connection with Steve Nash, who's the president of Basketball Canada, Jay Triano's the head coach of Basketball Canada, and Rowan Barrett, who's the vice president to Steve Nash of Basketball Canada. And we always bounce the roster off of each other to see who we should invite to our national team camp, who's going to be our best representation for the qualification tournament in Mexico in about, I'd say, 3-4 weeks. And Jamal Murray's name was always in the background. Yeah. It really wasn't in the forefront. We knew he was good, but we were hesitant because we knew that we had Corey Joseph. We knew that we had Tyler Ennis, only because he was already in the NBA. We also thought about Olivier Hanlon, who's from Gatineau, Quebec, and Jamal Murray. Kevin Pangos, other names always came up. But Jamal's was always in the background because he's still in high school. Right. All right? And he didn't take the normal route, and I use the word normal in quotes now because most of our good players, if they're young enough, go to high school in the U.S. now. They don't stay in Canada. Yeah. Jamal stayed right here in Kitchener, Ontario. And he was determined to be, if you talk to him, he wants to be the best player ever. I'm not talking about being the best player in Canada. He wants to be the best player ever. And I don't want to say this, I don't want to sound as a negative, but Tyler Ennis's injury to his shoulder ended up being a blessing in disguise because it enabled Jamal to play for our Pan American team and to show his stuff. And over the last 5 days, I would say he's passed the test. Yeah. With flying colors. And he's 6'4", 6'5", can get his shot off, can shoot the three, has a little bit of a mid-range game, has the floater. But what I like about him the most, guys, is that he competes defensively. Yeah. He's 18 years old, hasn't played a collegiate game yet. Yeah. He's going to Kentucky. And as far as I'm concerned, he's one and done. He's one and done. He's a lottery pick next season. I had some friends of mine asking me, Dwight, could he tear up his scholarship and go right to the NBA now? I'm like, well, listen, the draft's already passed. That's just a scenario that's coming out of what we've seen over the last 5 days. Jamal Murray is that good. Yeah. And not only has he played well in this tournament, he might have played himself into a spot on our main team that's going to be trying to qualify for the Olympics in September for Rio next summer. That's how good he's become. Yeah.
Okay, well, he's going to Kentucky. Now, I've been watching a couple scouting reports now. Kentucky has a nice little recruiting class this year with another touted point guard, so he's going to have to play some two guard.
And Tyler Eunice is still there.
And I've heard that potentially bringing the ball in his hands, do you think when you go to Kentucky, it's the showcase, right? It's the school that gets the most views. This is should only help your stock. But do you think having to play the two guard most minutes is going to be something that hurts or helps his stock?
Here's what I think. John Calipari knew what he was getting. Oh yeah. But I'm sure he watched these 5 games that Jamal just played. Everybody saw it. All right? It just wasn't on in Canada. It was on ESPN in the US. Okay. Everybody saw Jamal play. I think best case scenario for Jamal is that he'd be a combo guard, but become more of a point guard to even up his stock NBA-wise. If he can be a guy that makes his players better, to be able to initiate offense, get other players involved, and then be a guy that can possibly get the ball back at the end of a shot clock and be able to create for himself or for others, that's the best case scenario for him. I think if Calipari is a smart man, I think Calipari, I know with all due respect to Tyler Lewis is already there, and I'm not sure who the other guys he recruited. You give the ball to Jamal Murray right now and let him run the show. I think he's proven he did it. He's done it against men. Granted, the U.S. team wasn't the real U.S. team. We understand that, but Bobby Brown is no slouch. They had several NBA guys on that roster, some guys who were very successful in the United States. Didn't play particularly well against Brazil. I think he might have been a little bit tired, all right? And I think for the first time in the entire tournament, he had a scouting report focused on him. Got going in the fourth quarter a bit, but I think he's proven himself. I think he's the guy you give the keys to the car and let him drive it and let him go. I think he's that good.
Okay,
that's how I feel.
Well, if you're going to talk about a player that's good, right? In case people out there haven't seen him. Now, I know not everyone likes this stuff, and I'll let you guys pick.
Yeah.
If you had to do a player comp for a modern NBA player to kind of just give a vague idea to those people out there who are just getting to know Mr. Murray.
Yeah, I actually just thought of it now. We didn't mention his passing skills. He's great at the pick and pop. He's really great. He's got great court vision. Likes to pass lefty. He does a lot of stuff lefty. I see a bit of Damian Lillard in terms of his personality, his just confidence, and way he controls the court. I see that kind of youthful poise, Damian Lillard.
Well, I can tell you who he's not, and I love Fran Fraschilla, and with all due respect to him, during the broadcast, Dan Schulman was a great Canadian announcer, by the way. He asked Fran who he can best compare him to, and because Jamal isn't the most fleet of foot, the most athletic guy that if you're going to compare him to Russell Westbrook and Derrick Rose, players of that ilk, he's not that.
No.
But Fran tried to say Andre Miller, and I'm like, there's no way first of all, he's a much better three-point shooter than Andre Miller was. Now, granted, Andre is more athletic than we give credit for, but I think Jamal is more athletic than Jamal Murray is. Is he the passer? Is he the creator that Andre Miller has turned out to be in the NBA? Not yet, but let's keep in mind that the kid is 18 years old. He has a chance to grow. And Jamal's going to hear all the rumblings about how he doesn't make his teammates better, how he's not a good passer. But I'm with you. I think he proved himself in this tournament and passed all the tests. Does he like to score the basketball?
Of course.
Absolutely. That's the day and age of the point guard that we live in right now. The point guards have to be able to score the basketball as opposed to back in my day that we had the more pass first, get the guys involved before you score type point guard. That shifted around. And I think Jamal fits in that mold. But as far as I'm concerned, besides being able to score the basketball, Jamal gets his guys involved. He can. Ask Anthony Bennett. Ask Brady Heisler. These guys ask Andrew Nicholson, guys he was hooking up in the tournament. So, listen, the kid is 18. He's only going to get better. And I think the sky's the limit for this guy. And I'm going to be looking forward to watching him play Kentucky this year for our national team and in the NBA going forward.
Absolutely. I'll throw a name of comparison out there and tell me if you think I'm totally off my rocker with this one. Maybe a Brandon Roy.
Yeah.
Hopefully without the knee.
Right, a little bit slower,
Yes.
6'5", 6'6",
Yes.
pass, a little bit of a dominant scorer.
That's pretty good.
Not terrible.
Lillard too. Both of your comparisons are pretty good. Absolutely.
And hopefully he doesn't fall under the Portland curse, which they're seeming to. But this has been the time of Mr. Jamal Murray, Canadian Pride. We're just pushing out these stars, it seems, and hopefully we'll see him one day next to Andrew Wiggins flying on the wings.
Yeah.
So for Dwight, myself, and Mark, catch you in the next episode. More Canadian content from Stomch.com.